Good evening, everyone, and a very warm welcome to Online Darts, the live lounge. Here we are, Monday, the 2nd of November, and of course, as always, joined by Jarleth and Jack. Gentlemen, good evening. Have we just about recovered from the 4-day bonanza at the weekend?
I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah, just about. It was. I know we're going to talk about it quite a bit tonight as part of the show, but it was one of the most enjoyable weekends of darts I've had in a long time. I thought the standard from start to finish was superb. There was plenty of stories, plenty of drama. The quality on show was superb, and it was good to have proper darts back. This is proper darts.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Thought it was absolutely excellent. Hello. Do I need to mute and unmute there, Phil? Or am I in there?
No, you're in. We can hear you.
Okay, lovely. Yes, I thought it was lovely. Yes, for everybody, because that means we're not going to hear the smugness yet of Jack Garwood, as I'm sure we will do throughout the entire evening. But no, I thought
smugness?
It was
what smugness?
You smug never. Look, I'll be honest with you. I thought the Uber session must be said before we move on. We've got to quickly move on. The Uber session of darts on the Thursday I thought was going to be long, and I actually quite liked it. I thought it flowed quite well. I don't know if Phil would ever say the same, editing 16 interviews together. But I thought the Uber session worked pretty damn well. I thought it was very good. And yeah, it was a really enjoyable weekend of darts. I mean, to be honest with you, I didn't really see Saturday because I was basically shouting at Wayne Barnes in the rugby because I had the night off on that one. But Sunday's action definitely did not disappoint, and thought it was excellent from start to finish. And I've got to say, a very deserved winner. There's no doubt about that.
Nailed it.
No, yeah. To be fair, yeah, the Uber session, I agree. It was great, but it was also tough, as you say. 16 off the cuff was hard going. Trying to watch what was going on, prep for the next one whilst chopping up one was interesting. But as usual, you know what, that online darts, we did it.
Yeah, but it must be said though, Phil, what that is giving you is is getting you ready for the Grand Slam in a week's time, where we're doing 60 games for the first 2 days of the Grand Slam. That's always fun, isn't it?
They're even shorter than we had on Friday, Thursday as well.
Getting those hamstrings stretched ready for the Worlds.
Yes, I can't wait for those long days down at Ali Pali.
But yeah, no, it was really good, proper darts. And I'm still having nightmares about one particular moment, which I think I will for a long time. But we'll come on to that later, as always. But we do have a new European champion. We'll come on to how it all went down shortly. But of course, if you're following us in the chat room, good evening. And on social media, we have shared the links. So please get subscribing, retweeting. Let everyone know that we are now live here on the live lounge. So we will follow you. Quick shout outs from the chat. Duffy's in the house. Good evening, Kieran. Kryptonite 180. P. Danny, Martin, Kryptonite. Chris as well. A few. Devon Peterson will win something very soon. Yeah, I agree. We'll come on to Devon in a minute when we talk about how the night went down, and if we get time, if we may even touch on those two words that have been muted on social media all day long. We might just touch on it, gents. The Premier League.
I prefer not to speak. Yes. I prefer not to speak. If I speak, I am in big trouble, and I don't want to be in big trouble.
Do you think that could be quite heated?
Well, I don't think it'll be quite heated. I just think that people will be. They're passionate. They're a passionate bunch. Darts Twitter is a very passionate bunch. It must be said. And look, I am with certain aspects of what they're suggesting around the Premier League. There are some people there that are suggesting people that aren't ever going to touch the Premier League unless they win a television title. But It's all. We all love it. We discuss it because we love the game, and that is the crucial thing.
You missed one scenario in that if someone did win a TV title, they'd probably change the rules so he wasn't automatically in as well.
There are two players that spring to mind on that one, Phill, but we're not allowed to say that. There are two players that spring to mind exactly when you say that, but we're not going to say that.
We'll not go there. That's for another time, another place, and after the watershed at 9 o'clock.
You've already had a running with the PDC over the weekend, haven't you? So
yeah, I got told off, but I stand by what I said.
Yes.
Look, freedom of speech. As Jay from Live Darts said, honey, I shrunk the stage. Anyway, moving on to the Uber session on the Thursday.
Yes.
It was an absolute bumper session on the Thursday. Let's start at the top. Jamie Hughes against Dave Chisnall, and I'm just going to put it out there. What an absolute dross game this was. Arguably one of the worst of the tournament.
I don't mind if my accumulator is going to go down in the first match if the match is any good, but it was so bad.
I didn't think it was that bad. I'll be honest, I thought Hughes just missed loads of darts at a double. Like, Chizzy didn't really, they're averaging low 90s. It's not that they were averaging mid 80s. I thought it was a half decent game. I just thought Chizzy sort of didn't really get going, and that was the key. Like, for me, it was 4-2 up, and he loses a game when he's 4-2 up, but he's 5-4 up. He didn't get a dart for the match, he got one bullseye, for the match. I thought it was an okay game. There were plenty of worse games we've seen on the Euro Tour over this year, isn't there?
The problem is, I think that because of these two and their style, that if they don't play well, it looks worse than what it is as well. Because I don't mean this horribly, they're not easy on the eye, like some people.
Agreed. Yeah, fair enough. It's a fair point.
Moving on. First big shock of the day came in the second game. Steve West produced some brilliance to beat Ratajski. God, your boy was gone in round one.
I know, and I was sat there going, do you know what? All right, the second round isn't the nicest to draw, but he's got one here to ease himself into the tournament. How bloody wrong was I? Steve West was fantastic this weekend. Scored very well.
Can we not talk about that?
Didn't really take any of the pressure. Don't you start. Mine was worse.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. I will discuss this in a bit.
It was.
No.
It was.
No.
It was. And you'll find out why. But yeah, Steve West was superb. Did bits. That checkout to win it was superb. Solid performance. Ratajski had his chances to break. Normally just the odd dart here or there, but where he's usually so efficient, he wasn't. It wasn't a bad performance from Ratajski. He just let West off on West's throat.
Great. I think, was it leg 7 Ratajski missed? Was it 6 to break? And from there,
yeah.
When that opportunity went, you just feared the writing was on the wall.
Yeah, he just didn't look right, did he? Let's be honest about it. He had chances to break in the fifth leg. He had 6. That was the fifth leg. Just before the break, was those 6 darts. Then he had another 5 in the next leg. So you can't miss 11 darts at a double on the opponent's throw and expect to win the game where you're already behind in a last leg decider. It's just nonsense.
100%. Moving on to game 3, Ian White 6-2 over Mervyn King. Merv didn't show up, and it was a straightforward night at the office for Ian White in round 1, gents. Don't think we need to touch on that one too much.
I'm a bit worried about Merv at the minute, though, because he did bits in the first weekend where he had his new darts, but since then he's lost a couple where he just hasn't got going. I know he's played Michael Van Gogh and Ian White, who had a good run this weekend, but he isn't the same Merv that he was 4 or 5 weeks ago, just straight out of lockdown and getting back into it with his old darts.
Merv made a semi-final 3 weeks ago.
First appearance with them. Since then, dropped off a bit. Is it just the reactionary of having new darts? He needs a good performance next time out, I think.
He does.
Very easy to slip, especially when he's where he is in the world.
Well, the winter series obviously comes up next for him, and you look at it and think, oh, okay, it could be good. But as far as I'm aware, Merv, I can't see him losing a seed in at the World. He's 22. He's 22 on the Provisional Order of Merit, and a decent weekend or a decent week at the winter series could see him jump up as high as I'm going to say 20, maybe even 19. Dobie, I'm not sure. I think Dobie's a bit too far away unless he does something at the Players. But he had I'm not worried particularly too much about Merv. Let's see where he is. He's comfortably going to be in the Players Championships, and he's comfortably.
I'm not worried about him dropping off, but I just think when you hit that form and that purple patch, like he did, where he went deep at Summer Series or Autumn Series, I think, then he went to run on the Euro Tour. You need to make the most of it. You need to make that patch of form last as long as possible, and he seems to be tailing off a little bit already, and it coincides with him changing his darts. And the last time he changed his darts, it took him a long time to recover, and he stopped straight back again.
Just quickly before we move on, I'm just having a quick look at the Premier Event races, and actually Merv is 46th on the Order of Merit for the Players Championship, so he's going to have to do something if he's going to make sure of survival. He's only $2,000 away from dropping out, and that could easily be done by people over the weekend, over the next week over in Cov.
Yeah, 100%. Before we move on, evening, Mace joining us. Take it you got home from London, all okay. Coverage was on point as always, pal. Really enjoyed what ITV do. A cool good evening, Dark Wolf as well. He is on. Hi, Charlie as well. Hope you are all doing
the Wolf
well.
The Wolf is always watching, isn't he? From what I remember, the Wolf is always watching. Yeah. Very good, very good. It must be said, a very good video actually as a Premier. I'm not just saying this because he's online. Very good, very, very good Premier video actually over the weekend. Really good stuff.
Moving on,
Jose his presenters are a little bit better looking than ours.
Yeah.
Well, I
don't know. Oh, come on now. Well, come on now.
I moisturise before we come on show. Anyway, moving on.
I did be
Jose de Souza, the 9-dart hero, against Jeffrey Dejuan. The Portuguese star lit up the stage with one of the highlights of the weekend.
I love him. I absolutely love him. I absolutely love Jose de Souza. What a hero. I still maintain, right, that he was definitely thinking about what double he was going for. Other 144. He definitely didn't know that he was going for double 12. He definitely had to recheck himself on that one. 100%. But what an achievement. First line darter on the telly. And I love him. And obviously, we'll come on and talk about the World Cup a little bit more towards the end of the show. But Jose de Souza, now obviously in the World Cup, brilliant bit of form for him, I guess.
Massively. Moving on, James Wade, 6-5 victor over Steve Lennon. I'm just going to put it out there. This was the banana skin that Wade dodged because Lennon outplayed him for most of this game, I think. But Wade, #wading at his best on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, completely bang on. They were dropping the stat about his record in last leg deciders on the coverage, and I think he's won 14 out of his last 17 this year. That's
mad.
Some stones. Like, even you consider how many of them are probably not on his throw either. That's some record from the boy. He's just unbelievable under the most intense pressure when it gets down to his double. Solid performance that set him up really nicely for the weekend.
Yeah, I think as soon as it went 5-all, the writing was on the wall for Lennon. He probably should have won it 6-3, 6-4, if I'm being honest. But you can't give James Wade chances because we all know what happens. Next up, Devon Peterson, fairly routine, straightforward victory over Andy Hamilton. Never really tested. If we're being honest, the game's about levels, and Peterson was 3 or 4 levels above Andy Hamilton. Next one, I really enjoyed this. Smith versus Smith. This was one of the games of the day for me. Michael Smith showing some stones. 3-0 down, 4-2 down, found a way to win this game. But Ross Smith kicking himself a little bit. Bully Boy was there for the taking in this one.
The 142 and the 96 back-to-back. Absolutely superb. That was the game changer for him. And that in particular, that 142 from really out of nowhere just changed the game for Bully. and deservedly came through in the end and won the match. But that was, like you say, PB, I thought it was an absolutely quality game between the pair. Thought they played really good, solid stuff. And Michael Smith just, again, you talk about levels. Again, Michael Smith is just a level above Ross Smith, in particular in the crucial moments. That's just how it works.
That finish was like prime Randy Orton, RKO out of nowhere.
Correct, definitely. Yes.
Moving on.
Arguably, Ross Smith's been the better player over the last few weeks, so that was a massive potential upset for Michael Smith. I even tipped him to Ross Smith to get out of that quarter to draw when we were discussing it last week. So the form he's in, the scoring power that Ross Smith suddenly possesses is superb. So for Bully Boy to get over that one, you would have thought would have set him up for a good run this weekend.
This one, the result wasn't a surprise, but the scoreline was. Dirk van Dijvenbode 6-0 over Danny Noppert. Danny just didn't get going. Van Dijvenbode has been playing some great stuff, so it's no surprise that he's won on TV. The manner of the scoreline was the surprise, and just one of those nights on stage for Danny Noppert, I think.
Yeah. I've been bigging Danny up a lot over the last couple of months, considering my position on him last year, where I keep saying it, he was my player to play in the first round. I don't feel he'd really settled on TV until he went deep at the World Series finals?
Yeah, World Series finals, yeah.
When he lost in the final. So he's been superb ever since then. He's been playing some really good stuff, some really solid stuff as well. Like he's not dropped under the 95, 96 average on TV, on Euro tours or anything like that for a while now. He's been very consistent, very difficult to beat. For him to just capitulate like that against Dirk, don't get me wrong, Dirk was fantastic. His treble 19 hitting was some of the best I've seen in a long time. Every time he went there, it was there for him, and that's a massive weapon to have in your arsenal. But yeah, Danny had a couple of chances, but wasn't able to take them. Solid performance from Dirk, who after getting to the Grand Prix, I was a little bit nervous for Dirk, to be fair. This was a tough one for him after his run at the Grand Prix. Potential upset either way, but it was, 6-0. Did not see that coming at all.
Definitely. Then, moving on to the second set of 8, Nathan Aspinall against Mike Covenhausen. Wasn't great from the Aspen. Listening to him in his media afterwards, something upset him. Something knocked him off. He didn't say what it was, but you could tell in an interview afterwards he was ticking about something. And I think that showed in his performance because it was un-Aspinall-like.
This was possibly the worst I've seen Nathan Aspinall on stage since, I'm going to go back and maybe say the World Match Play, potentially against Dimmy. He just didn't look himself at all. But he got through, and you know what? That to me shows to me that he is still an absolutely quality player. Like people are saying that he maybe went off the bubble a little bit before the Premier League final, obviously against Duzza. People are a bit worried about whether he was being a bit, whether we haven't seen the best of Nathan probably before at the start of the year. And I think he is a player that is here to stay. He's not a one-hit wonder, as it were, in terms of the UK Open and then the 2 World Championship semi-finals. He is here to stay and be a top-quality player. But you get these games where you don't play anywhere near your best and you still come through. And to me, that shows the quality that there is. Plus, as well, again, we come back to it. Levels.
Just going off one of the comments, Mace. Maybe James called him a Flash Harry. in case you haven't seen, everyone, there was a narrative over the weekend. Go back and watch some of the media. But yeah, Mace, bang on. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Next up, the number 1 seed fell at the first hurdle. Joe Cullen losing 6-3 to the golden ticket of Willie O'Connor. Before we come on to the game, I thought a nice tweet from Joe afterwards as well. He said, no excuses, didn't settle, didn't play well, I'll be back. And I like that. Didn't sugarcoat it or anything like that. Said he wasn't good enough. But these free passes that these players are getting that are coming in that shouldn't be here, there's a pattern developing, guys.
Yeah, it's been an interesting year for darts. We said it at the start of the year that 2020 was going to be massive for darts. I don't think any of us quite envisioned lockdown and all the other sort of things that we've had and all the shock results and that sort of thing to the extent that we've seen. But the players that are getting in at the last minutes are massively taking advantage of it. And when we talk about the World Cup later, you wouldn't put it past a certain team coming in to do bits or a couple of replacements to push on and actually improve the chances of that team, perhaps. So, yeah, Willie made massive use of it. Effectively a free roll, as he shouldn't really have been there. Really good from Joe in his media. I think maybe he didn't quite say it, but there's a different pressure of coming in as a number 1 seed. And if you've never been there before, perhaps maybe his preparation wasn't quite the same as what it is when he just attacks a Euro Tour and he's a little bit of an underdog. But with those 2 Euro Tour titles now, he's going to have to get used to perhaps having that little bit more of a target on his back.
Yeah, no,
and obviously, before we go any further, really quickly, obviously, our man here, Phill Bars, has obviously got the big exclusive with the Rockstar, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't already seen this on socials, that he has moved over to Winmore Darts, joining Michael Van Gerwen over there, Daryl Gurney, loads of other players, Simon Whitlock, etc., etc. So if you haven't already watched this, make sure you go and watch the first interview, the exclusive interview with Joe Cullen after his move to Winmore, however you want to pronounce it.
And by the way, his new darts are mint. Rachel,
they look beautiful.
The James Wade interview. I prefer not to speak. Mace completely agreed. Does need to work on his B game. His B game needs work. His A game is top draw, Mace, as always. Completely agree. Then from there, the defending champion crashed and burned at the first hurdle. Rob Cross beaten 6-3 by the rapid big Dutchman, Martijn Kleermaker. Cross has got issues, boys. Do we agree that there is a problem right now in the Rob Cross camp?
You go, Gob, because I can't. You go, because
I'm gonna steal your line if I go. It's what is a Rob Cross? He's been so hit and miss since he did pick up that World Championship. Yes, he played the European Championship and the match play in his B game, but in terms of sustained brilliance, we just haven't seen it from Rob Cross. And whether that's about the preparation, the change in lifestyle, we know that he tried to go back to basics a little bit after he had an absolute nightmare trying to defend the world title. He just doesn't seem to have settled. The fact he's tinkering with dart setups and different barrels and stuff, 1 minute they look great, the next minute they drop off. I don't quite understand it, but there is something wrong with Rob Cross's game, and he's got quite a stiff action, despite it having a couple of feathers and whatever. There's a lot of effort and a lot of force there, and I think if you're off even the slightest bit, you're going to miss by a lot with Rob Cross. You see him drag an awful lot of darts, and I think that there needs to be some tinkering done there to perhaps set this right, because something isn't right, whether it's just confidence, which is completely possible, where he's so used to, at this level of the game, having it his own way, as he did for the first two and a half years on tour, and they're just not going for him. Or if it is something to do with his action, it's not quite there, his practice is off. I can't put my finger on it exactly. Only Rob will know what he needs to do about it, but there's something wrong. And if he's not careful, he's defending an awful lot over the next year or so again. You could see him start falling very quickly, similar to A.D. Lewis and Whitlock of the past.
You look at this,
on the plus side, how good was Martijn Kleermaker?
Oh, he was great. He was absolutely excellent. I thought he played very, very well. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, do not get me wrong that we should be praising Kleermaker, but the big story is Cross. Once again, he's defending a title, and once again, he goes out in round one. Very similar to what happened, obviously, at the World Championships. He was defending, albeit, he wasn't actually the defending world champion, but he was defending the £400,000 that he won on his ranking, and he crashed out in round one against Kim Huybrechts, or round two against Kim Huybrechts. I don't know what it is at the moment. I have said this now probably since, when was it? Since probably the Euros last year, saying what is a Rob Cross, to be fair. And I don't know what a Rob Cross is. I don't know whether it is that player, that special talent that we saw back at the start of 2017 going into the 18 World Championship that just bashed everybody on the Pro Tour, that came through there, or if he is the player that he is at the match play that can go and still win titles with his B game, but maybe his B game is now what it is. I don't know. And you look at this, right? You look at the World Championship Order of Merit. Currently, as it stands, he's number 4 in the world at the post-World Championship Order of Merit. If he falls out of that top 4, and I know we don't want to talk the P word yet, but he's in danger. If one of those players misses out on a TV title, if one of those players from nowhere comes and wins a TV title like Dimmy did, he could be in danger, man, after getting relegated last year.
No, I agree. Then up next, this was one of my favourite games of the tournament.
Game of the day.
The first round. The Ferret, Johnny Clayton, 6-5 victor over Max Hopp. And this had it all. We had 170 finishes. We had breaks of throw. We had kahunas of steel from Johnny Clayton. Just a damn good game of darts, gentlemen.
Excellent. Easily the game of the day, this. Really good stuff. Obviously, when he goes and pings the 170 to go 5-3 up, you think, oh, this is going to be great. But you think, oh, that's the game done. And then Johnny coming back, winning three straight games, 3 straight legs in order to come back and win that. Again, against the crowd, who were not as vocal as they normally are, but at the same time, they weren't exactly quiet. Hop misses a dart at the match, and Johnny goes and pings it for it. This was an absolutely brilliant scrap between 2 very good players.
Again, just before we move on, Mace in the comments about Rob Cross could be another Wes Newton, struggle to defend and then drop off a cliff. Completely agree. He is in that kind of danger at the moment. Then
don't disagree at all.
The world
Andy
number
Hamilton
one.
too. You think how many last fours and finals Andy Hamilton made over a couple of years? Once they started dropping off his ranking, he fell off a little bit too. There's plenty of examples of it in the past that it can come back to bite you very quickly. We say about this 2-year ranking perhaps isn't quite quick enough for us in terms of current form, but in terms of players dropping off, it can come back to kick you very quickly.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the match play. You look at just saying really quickly. You look at the match play in the European Championships. That's 270 grand off his ranking next year. He could fall very much down a cliff just off that.
Yeah, and then the world number one, 6-1 victor over Darius Labanauskas. And beforehand, if we'd have said Labanauskas would have averaged 101 and got smashed 6-1 after the form we saw from MVG, I thought we'd have been on something then, wouldn't you? I thought, hand on heart, a ton average from Labanauskas would have got him over the line in this, but MVG found some form, 6-1 win, and he bashed him.
Yeah. And he started what turned out to be a quality ending to this session, because the last 4 matches were all superb, of the highest quality. The top boys turned up to do their bits, just putting out there now. I still don't want to say he's back, because obviously we know what happens later on in the tournament. He keeps pulling off these sensational matches and then he will falter. I don't think he's producing like his C or his D game as often anymore, but I still think that he's still not playing to his A or A plus game that we know he's capable of, and producing 10 plus averages for fun over and over again. I still think that he's using his B game a little bit more often, and therefore he's there for the taking more often. The darts looked like they were going in a bit weird. They were sat on top of the treble a lot without picking up as much, which makes me think he was throwing either a little bit harder himself, or the darts were a little bit heavier because of the way they were sitting slightly flatter in the board. You just felt that he was like a treble away. See, they didn't look like they were going in the same way, especially in the next round. In this round, he was superb. But in the next round, in particular, they did not look like they were going into the board at the same angle as he normally would get those darts to go in the board, and therefore something's off.
That goes back to the bit that Mace did. That goes back to the bit that Mace did as well, about it's not quite at eye level how it used to be. It's pointing slightly down, so he's pushing it up, which goes back to what Mace demonstrated during the World Series. Then from there, the Iceman, Gowden Price, 6-1 demolition job of Kim Hybrex. And again, Kim never, ever in this game. There's nothing more to say about it. It was just one-way traffic. Then the world champion, a 6-3 victor over Gabriel Clements. And again, Wright produced something special. All the big guns rolling out the averages in this one. 6-3, and let's be fair, Clements was slightly fortunate to get that close to him, if I'm being honest.
Well, you look at the double stats very quickly. I thought Clements would beat him, to be brutally honest. I thought Clements would beat him. And that's the one thing that Tizzy's Acker from last week that I was really worried about. How wrong was I across the whole weekend, to be fair? But let's just say this about that game, though. He was 6 of 19 on the doubles, was Peter Wright. If he'd picked better on that, he could have easily averaged 110. At that stage, he was 104 for Christ's sake. So his scoring was there. And he just, to be honest with you, I think because he'd gone under the radar because he's not been playing well before this weekend. Well, I say that, excuse me. He hadn't seen him for a couple of weeks. We were a bit like, okay, we don't know what Peter Wright's going to happen here. He's dropped down to 15. I think in a way he had a sort of a free roll, as it were. I think he had a bit of freedom to play.
Yeah, that is what it is. And then last up, Mensur Suljovic, a 6-2 victory over Daryl Gurney. We'll come on to Mensa Mania in a minute. But again, like Rob Cross, Daryl Gurney has got problems right now. Cannot win a game for love nor money. Cannot win a game.
Daryl Gurney's in huge trouble. He's in huge trouble. Look, end of the day, this is what he's got to play a championship finals win to defend next month. He is in. If he doesn't do anything at that Players' Championship final, he is in huge trouble. I don't think he's going to be in the Premier League unless he goes and wins something, or maybe makes a semi-final and gets back up towards the top four or anything like that next year. But he's got problems, like you say. He just doesn't, he doesn't look like the chin that we've known.
Wait a minute. I'm getting no context there now. You've only gone and done it, haven't you? You've mentioned the P word. We had mentioned it in the 33 minutes
30
we've been
minutes
on
too
air.
early.
Oh, and then you go and do it.
Shot it.
Oh,
let's throw it into the comments. Let's go fishing. Let's go fishing.
Right,
We'll
talk about it at the end of the show. No, Jars brought it up, but
to be fair, I completely agree with what Jars just said about the P word, and winning becomes a habit, right? And Daryl Gurney just cannot buy a win from anywhere. He survived in the Premier League, but then even then, when the games didn't really matter to him, it was just a case of can he finish 7th instead of 8th? There was no real incentive to actually work up any higher. So you allowed yourself to lose a couple more, and you haven't won in 4 or 5 games, and then it keeps going. And it's becoming a habit to lose as much as winning is a habit, and he needs to break that habit very quickly.
Agreed. But Mensur doing the job, booking a place in the last 16. Moving on, we had a bumper double session on the Friday. This time, no Uber session, split afternoon and evening. First one, Jamie Hughes got exactly what he deserved from this game. Absolutely nothing. Battered by Willie O'Connor, 10-3. And let's be fair, Hughes never, ever looked at the races in this game at all. I don't think we need to dust on it too much apart from demolition job from Willie O'Connor. Then Devin Peterson, 10-8 victory over Martin Kleermaker. Really enjoyed this game. Really enjoyed this one for the afternoon.
Yeah, Devin really did well to come back from 4-1 down. He did look himself the first 5 legs. That is one of that. Do you know what though? That shows to me just how far Devon's come this year. And we've always talked about the improvement that he's had and everything like that. We know this. We won't go further into it. But Devon, to me, that shows me that he's got more cojones than most people, even I probably thought he would do. Because Kleermaker at the first part of that game was if Kleermaker gets going normally, he's a great front runner. Like we know this from the video. Devon there just came back, fought back, really good game of darts. Really enjoyed this.
Yeah. From there,
it's easy to get dragged along with Martin's pace as well.
Oh,
that's
what Devon said in his media. First session, he got drawn into playing. Just a thought. I know it's been out there on social media, but I feel sorry for the chalker that's got to do Ricky Evans and Martin Kleermaker in the Winter Series. We know it's going to happen. We know it's going to be there.
Luckily, it's going to be a Dark Connect. Luckily, it's going to be a Dark Connect rather than writing anything down.
Imagine if it's on the stream board. Jose
Good luck, Mr. Walsh.
Jose D'Souza against Johnny Clayton. And it was the Ferret who beat the 9-dart hero 10-6. Johnny, the luck of that brand, shiny new patch on his shirt did the job. But in fairness, this was a good game, and I thought Johnny actually played some really good stuff in spells in this game.
Yeah, he did. It was just a solid performance, and I'll get to it later on as well, but I want to drop the stat in now that Johnny's highest tournament of the weekend, highest checkout of the weekend was 82. So to be as comfortable as he was up until the round in which he eventually loses just shows just how well he was scoring and the chances and the pressure he's putting his opponent under. Because he wasn't always averaging 100, he was averaging around 95, which means there was a fair few legs that are then just dropping over that 15 dart leg mark into 17, 18, which means your opponent's getting chances. But he's always there or thereabouts, putting them under pressure. He did the same to Peter Wright later on, did the same to Jose here. He got himself in front and put himself close every time. And Jose can stay with him.
Yes, and the Ferret marched on, as I predicted. Moving on. Oh, by the way, our WhatsApp group was hilarious every time Johnny Clayton was winning. But this one, the last game of the session, this had a little bit of spice after the media as well. James Wade beating Nathan Aspinall 10-8. And in his media, Nathan Aspinall said to James Wade, over the best of 19, if I play my game, he cannot beat me. Didn't age well.
Well, no, it did, because he didn't play his best. Like, that's the God's honest truth.
But James didn't play his best.
No, but at the end of the day, Asp had what? Was it 11 or 12 darts on his chances to break on his throw that he didn't take? Something ridiculous as that. So
there was
Wade
but the problem is, if you're gonna make a statement like that in the media, you damn well better back it up, because Devon Peterson didn't do it the other week and it came back to bite him on the backside, and now Nathan Aspinall's done it as well.
Well, no, I don't think it has, because he actually said, right, if I play my game, it's not like I'm saying he can't beat me over 19 legs regardless. He just said if I play my game, and he didn't. He didn't play his game well in the first round, and he didn't play well in the second round.
After that performance in the first round, that's not the time to start saying, if I suddenly bring my top game. You average 85 in the first round.
I'll give you that.
Don't get me wrong, it's still a phenomenal talent, but you make those comments when you're in form. You don't start winding up players with the experience and the caliber of James Wade under pressure if you're then going to go and miss those chances against him and hand him the opportunity on the plate. That's your own fault. I genuinely believe, most players won't admit it, you make those comments. They are somewhere in the back of your mind when you're going for those doubles or pre-match or something. They're there. You're aware of them. You've made them, right? Therefore, you put more on yourself to do something in that next match. Don't do it. Don't get it wrong. It's brilliant for us. It means we get loads of views, loads of clicks. I was going to say, from my point of view, can we keep them coming? Yeah, carry on. And then I get something to talk about on the Monday night as well. But if you're a player, stop talking. So, like, what are you doing? Peter Wright's done it in the last couple of weeks as well. It's a severe drop in form, all right? Correct that this weekend, but
with Snakey,
there's a lot of players doing a lot of talking right now. Yeah, there's a lot of players doing a lot of talking right now, and with darts as open as it is, back it up and dominate first, because that's when you get to run your mouth. That's why Phill Taylor could talk as much as he wanted to.
I say carry on talking, gentlemen. Carry on. Moving on to the evening session. First up, it was Michael Smith against Dirk van Dijvenbode, and it was the Dutchman who rolled himself into another quarter-final. 10-8, but Bully Boy
couldn't believe this.
Middle of this match, Bully Boy let the game go. Couldn't score and let Van Dijvenbode back into the game. And you can't do that before he's in, because he's shown that he's got kahunas.
And then he couldn't finish.
So I was actually out while this was on. And my accumulator was still live, and I refused to look. And I kept getting the odd message in the WhatsApp going, "You don't want to know the score, do you?" I was like, no, didn't look. It was level. And then Smith went ahead. I was like, what have I done here? Like, it was an 8-fold. It was full worth a bit of money. It was up to like 130. Decent cash out on this one as well. And I let her run. And I was screaming when Dirk won. I'm not going to lie. It was super for him. The treble 19s once again dug him out of trouble completely. He was magnificent. Michael Smith kicking himself after edging through that Ross Smith tie. Should have set him up. We said how big his bottle was in that Smith encounter. not so much here. That's an issue with Bully Boy's game. He really has to deliver at every moment now and start putting himself into the back end of these finals. Yeah,
he just didn't get going back end of the match. Missing the 1-2-1 hurt, and then he bust his score, missed a double 11. We're going for a 1-2-4, turn the match basically in Dirk van Dijvenbode's favour. It sort of broke his heart a little bit off the back of that. And we're still sitting here saying that Michael Smith is the best player to not win a TV title. We can't really say much more than that.
Moving on, what an absolute belter of a game this was.
I don't think this was, I don't think this was.
What?
No. Okay.
Second session.
Right, I'm ready.
No.
Right. I'll come here and sit. I'll come and sit here and I'll take the pelters. It's fine. I didn't think this was that great a match. I thought more than anything, this is one of the best performances I've seen on the TV from Peter Wright all year. This is what I thought. He was unplayable. And for me, I always say great match, you need two players to tango. And while Price is averaging 116, he lost 5 legs in a row end of the day. And like in that second session, he lost 4 out of 5 legs. Now, look, for me, Peter Wright was untouchable. And when he's in that form, it's brilliant to watch. But I don't know whether Gezi walked up there and thought, because you're number 2, now I'm number 2 in the world, I've now got your number, etc., or whether it was just pure genius from Snakebite. But for me, you need to have 2 to tango. Don't get me wrong; those final 3 legs that he won, by the way, where he hit the 148, the 127 and game, and then the 80. I thought, oh, okay, that we could be having a really amazing comeback here. But Snakey just did the job. But it was a good game. But I don't know if it was in that echelon of great. That's what I'm saying.
I loved every minute of it.
I think the last couple of legs pad it out a bit, but it was still Gezi's averaged 40% on the doubles and had 3 ton plus checkouts.
I'm not debating that.
That wins you 95% of your games. Like, I just think Peter Wright went to a completely different level, and I couldn't be more here for it. After the feces that you two have given me for the last few weeks. Vindication. Boys, who's currently world number 2?
Moving swiftly on, I think, Phil. Moving on to the next game.
Before we go, Mace has pinged an absolute stat here for us. Mace, in the YouTube comments, my favourite stat of the weekend, 37 of Wade's legs, won to reach the final. 18 of them were won with his last dart. What
hashtag wading, that is. That is hashtag wading.
Oh, by the way, I've got a new website that we're looking to launch as well, and it's going to be absolutely genius.
Is it hashtag wading.com?
No, but it could be absolute genius if it works. It's just a bit of fun, but we'll come on to that in a bit. Next up, Ian White producing.
I don't want to talk about this one.
His best ever TV performance to beat Michael Van Gogh in 10-4. Would you say, gentlemen?
Easily. I know he's beaten MVG before and all that sort of stuff, but my God, this was easily his best TV performance I've seen. I'm going to say in his PDC career. What a ridiculous game! What a ridiculous performance from Ian White. MVG as well, averaged over 102. What was that? Sorry.
Yeah.
I said cheers, Ian, because my accumulator I previously mentioned was still live at this point and was worth £750 to cash out before this match. Now, history tells you, on a TV event, Michael Van Gogh versus Ian White, there is only one winner. So I let this run. Thanks a lot.
Well, don't worry, we'll come on to another busted actor in a minute.
The curse of MVG strikes again as well, because the man that defeated him in the next round.
Yeah, it's almost like the Taylor curve. When you beat Taylor, you crashed the next round, and it's almost that. But Ian White, sensational to beat Michael Van Gogh in. And Michael wasn't too pleased in his RTL interview. Obviously, I don't understand Dutch, but we've read the quotes that have been kindly done. Wasn't happy with some of Iron's line of questioning. shall we say.
Mm.
But
yes,
the last game of the evening, wow. Just wow. This game could have graced any TV stage. It had everything. Absolutely everything. Now, Steve West should, in my opinion, have got the game done beforehand. He let Mensah back in. He said in his interview there was a few tactics going on up there. We love the dark arts at the moment. Up there, it's happening more and more. We might have to get Professor Lockhart in to help these dark players out. But
Lockhart, he was useless.
Lupin,
no idea. He's good at memory charms, though.
On himself, the clown.
Yeah.
But at 9-9, Steve West produces one of, for me, the moments of 2020. It was that special. That checkout under that pressure.
Are you just trying to stab me right now? Is that what you're trying to do?
Obviously, for those that don't know, Jar went against his number one rule and backed Mensah Suljovic.
So I'll tell you the story. I'll tell you the story, everybody. So, got through 7 of the 8 on this ACCA of the afternoon. I didn't even realise it was still on. I thought I'd backed Nathan to win. No, I backed him to get the most 180s, and he got it in the last leg. So, then, I backed Mensah Suljovic because I think, well, he's playing well. 2 Euro Tour semi-finals in a row. He's got to do something. Why not this week? Also backed him at 40-1. That's fine, doesn't matter. £770 on a £10 ACCA. I think he leads double top. He's obviously 7-3 down, gets it back to 9-all. And then Steve West produces one of the greatest checkouts I've seen on a European Championship stage. In short, fuming. I was gutted.
But Steve West's reaction, you could see how much it meant to him. Absolute.
Who did it better,
genius.
by the way? Who did it better? Who did it better, Neil Warnock or Steve West?
Then, moving on Saturday night, it was quarterfinals night. And again, the first one, not really competitive, if I'm being honest. James Wade, 10-4 over Willie O'Connor, and Willie's luck sadly ran out as James Wade just breezed through. I think it's fair to say, gents, we don't need to touch too much on that. And again, safe to say the same in this one. Johnny Clayton, easy victor over Dirk van Dijvenbode, 10-4. The Ferret moves into the semi-finals, and I'm getting excited at this point. The Ferret is on the move. Then from there, Steve West. Steve West couldn't repeat the magic that he produced the night before. Peter Wright, 10-6 victor. And it was interesting, Snakey's comments afterwards, that he thought Steve West then tried tactics on him. They're all at it, gents. They're all at it.
To be fair, if my opponent's averaging 104 and hasn't dropped below 100 all weekend and is the current world champion, the Masters champion, and wins whatever he wants when he turns up, I'd probably try and put him off a little bit too.
Look, I haven't got an issue with it, if I'm being honest. I say get on with it, gents. I like the Manley and Lewis era. I think we should bring it back. Get rid of the exclusion zone a lot.
I think it depends what it is. I think there's a line, like I've spoken about in the past, and if you get close to that line or cross the line, then I'm not a fan. But little subtle things, no. Big, damned obvious things that are against your natural game. A, you're hurting yourself more 9 times out of 10, and B, I just think that bit's quite disrespectful. But the little subtleties and whatever, fair enough. And if anything was going to put anybody off, it's going to be the crowd at that point, because the small little crowds. There were times this weekend where I wouldn't have been upset if it was behind closed doors with fake noise played in. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and both Steve and Peter weren't happy with the crowd, and I got told off on Twitter for saying it was the German fans. Not even that. I've been to plenty of them. The German fans are the worst out there for shouting while players are playing. And no one will tell me otherwise.
Not even a debate. Anybody who says otherwise is just silly.
Right, moving on. Devon Peterson, 10-6 victor over Ian White. And how this game was 5-all at this point, the second break, I have got no idea. Because if it was a boxing match, the referee would have stopped it, because White was up against the ropes. getting absolutely tanned for 10 rounds, but showed kahunas to stick in there. But in the end, it was Devon Peterson's scoring power that battered his way to victory. Stunning performance from Devon, 106.3 something average.
There were moments in those first two sessions where, after the performance the night before to beat Michael, there was such a disparity in the averages between the players, and Ian White was still there or thereabouts, and you expect them to find another gear at some point, not quite to the extent that Devon did, but you expect them to kick on a little bit. And there were times during those first 10 legs where I thought, if he's still here now, is it his time? Do you know what I mean? And that started building a bit, but that third session, Devon Peterson was out of this world.
Agreed. Moving on to the semi-final. The first one, James Wade against Devon Peterson. And it was Wade in a last leg shootout. Shock. But
yeah,
I think
it was first start in hand, though, not last.
Yeah. I think Devon missed an opportunity here to get on top of James early. Once it starts going deep, you know that James has got the kahunas to do it. I think Dev missed an opportunity in the first couple of sessions, guys. Because I don't think James is a particularly good chaser.
I think he had two opportunities.
I think he's... Go on.
Devon led early in the first session. James pinned it back. That was his first chance. If he gets out in front, he can absolutely juggernaut in the way he's playing. But then he led 8-6 again. With the break of the James Wade throw, he was throwing again. And at that point, you're like, this could be done. Because Devon was scoring fantastic then. And the minute James hit that last leg before the break to go in 8-7 and then came back out, Devon's range on the treble 20 just disappeared. Everything was low. And I think if they just carried on playing at that point and there was no third break, because this was the first time the third break was back on, if they just carried on playing, Devon doesn't have time to think about how close he is to a TV major final. He doesn't have time for it to tighten up a little bit. He just carries on playing, it stays loose. That break, I think, did for Devon Peterson. And all right, he had a chance, he still went close. But I think, and he won't admit that, but I think that's what did him. You won't want any sour grapes or anything like that, but that was really bad timing for Devon. I think ultimately that's what's cost him the match, as well as James Wade is, I've said it so many times tonight, he's superb under pressure. His finishing is unbelievable. Even when his trusty tops and tens were letting him down, double five was bailing him out. He was superb. I mean, I tipped him in the last week's show to lose at this point, not to win it, but I'll take it. Because, by the way, that was one I predicted that semi-final lineup last week, and I also predicted one of these two. Joe, what did you do?
Peter Wright.
It's not about predictions, mate. It's not about predictions. It's about reacting to what actually you see in front of your eyes. That's what it is.
If I could see it coming, I could prepare to react.
There's one moment in this game, gentlemen, that I'm still having nightmares about, and I won't forget it for a long time. Ferret
Johnny,
Maths
mate,
was back. If that
did
goes
Jose
in,
de Sousa come up there?
then it's an intro. What's that?
Was that Jose de Sousa counting for him?
If he'd have taken that out properly, then this is an interesting last couple of legs.
Yeah, but I think Wright got a little bit
the miscount. Yeah. 100%.
Massively, but I think he added it. It just gave Wright that breathing space to reel off the last couple of legs.
To relax. But if that goes in,
that
would have made it 9-all, am I right?
Yeah, would have been 9-all. It would have been 2 straight legs that he won back, and he would have got the break back as well, obviously.
Yes.
And we see Curse of the commentary a lot. I was on the live blog and I dropped my stat literally the leg before about Johnny's highest checkout of the weekend being an 82. And if he takes that a ton plus, it would go a long way to getting him back in this match and maybe into the final. And the next checkout he attempts, he miscounts in 111.
Well,
sorry, lad.
Ferret Maths.
Sorry, lad.
But Peter Wright moving Peter Wright moving into the final, but still a really good tournament from the Ferret. And I think that vindicates why a lot of us think that Wales are favourites for the World Cup with Gezi
massively.
and Johnny.
Massively.
In
100%.
that,
but
in that kind.
That quarter of the draw, though, I know we'll come on to it. That quarter of the draw is tough, though, man.
Oh, 100%. Right.
So was all that Peter Wright came through to win this.
The hashtag spoiler alert, the final was won by this man. And if we're being honest, it wasn't really a good final. It was one-way traffic. Peter Wright, 11-4 winner over James Wade. And Peter is the new European champion.
Yeah, look, I mean, I thought when Wade got it back to 6-4, I thought that could be an interesting one. He missed the dart to go at 4-4, and when he misses that dart for 4-4, it's going to be a very different game if he hits that chance of 4-4. But then after the break, Wright was just stunning. There's no other way of putting it. And the way he won it as well, by the way. Wadey misses 3 to get it back to 9-5. I mean, I doubt things would have changed, but it at least would have been 9-5. We've had to go to another commercial break before we came back, obviously. And then 143 checkout, 143, treble 20, treble 17, double 16 for 10-4. And then he goes and wins it with a 1-2-5. And I think that sums up just where Peter Wright's game is at the moment. I'm just looking at a stat from Carl Fletcher, brilliant statistician, by the way. If you don't follow him, do so. He even said that there's only been one occasion, excluding the World Grand Prix, since the Autumn Series, Peter Wright has played 11 matches on stage, and the only time he's averaged below 100 is the Premier League semi-final. That just shows you what he can do at that time, and he is astonishing when he gets going. I think because of what happened after the World Championship and because of the Masters, and then really didn't really get going in the Premier League. Maybe went out early, UK Open, went out early in the match play. People were just a bit, maybe he won't be going anywhere. But he's come back since the Premier League and he's played some superb stuff. There's no doubt about that.
Before we move on to the World Cup, any questions on the European Championship, guys? Get it in the YouTube chat now, and we will answer anything on the Euros.
Right, really quickly then, before we go, must be said. Are we allowed to talk the P word now? It's basically 9 o'clock. Are we allowed to throw the fish out there?
We'll do it after the World Cup bit. We'll talk about the P word after the World Cup. But Gob, I've got one for you on Peter Wright because I disagree with him.
Yeah.
What is his best start setup?
I don't think it's these. I think it's the ones he won the World Championship with.
I agree with you.
There's not a great deal. There's not a great deal difference in them. They're very similar style barrel. It's a slightly different grip, and there's been a lot of talk about his stance and how he's moved a little bit closer to the board to make these darts work for him. Didn't have to do that with the old darts. They didn't go in at that slight angle. So if you're going to start doing that and you're not used to it, without being disrespectful, Peter Wright isn't the youngest player on tour. That will start taking its toll a lot quicker than it will on someone like Michael van Gerwen, who's been doing it from a very early age and is very used to it and is still he's still under 30, isn't he? Or he's around the 30 age. So
no, he's 30.
Peter Wright's got 20 years on him. That's going to start breaking down a little bit quicker. And the problem with that is with a man that likes to tinker as much as Peter Wright, now you've changed your stance completely. To go back is two things you have to adapt to. So you have to stand yourself back upright. You have to get used to setting yourself at the oche and then getting your throw back with a different set of darts if he opts to change back. So let's hope that because he's made such wholesale changes that this is permanent. And this is the setup he's going to stick with, find some consistency with it, because he was brilliant all weekend with it. So you can't really fault his logic, despite what we're all saying about his stance. But if it does start to break down, he's got more issues than just tinkering and swapping between dart barrels that he's had in the past.
Cool. Dart Wolf, great stat from Carl Fletcher. Completely agree. Rates, I won 30 quid back in Wade each way after the live lounge last week as the outsider bet. Won't retire, but buy me a Chinese. Well done, Rach. We like that. We all love the Chinese.
Tiz was very keen to point out to us earlier as well.
Tiz did well, bless him. Right, moving on. There is an event this weekend, if you didn't know, and it is the World Cup of Darts. You'll have to excuse the graphic because it's not been updated yet through today's announcement. But
the PDC is slacking. They're no
Come on, Lewis.
Darts, are they?
Singapore withdraw due to travel restrictions. Portugal come in, and there's rumours that Nathan Aspinall's got a Portuguese aunt. I don't know if that's been confirmed yet by immigration, but there was talk that the Asp had Portuguese blood in him at some point. No, Jose de Souza comes in for Portugal. So, gents, that is round 1 and the draw bracket. England number 1 seeds.
Before we go any further, I just want to say very, very quickly, obviously there's been a breaking news story that's come out tonight. And I know we do have, looking at the stats and all that, we actually do have some people listening to the show earnestly as a podcast and over our YouTube in Austria tonight. There's obviously been a shooting in Vienna at the moment. So, well, certainly reports going around of that by multiple sources. So if you are caught up in that and watching the show tonight, we obviously send our best wishes out there to you. And it's a shame that obviously we're not going to have fans there as well in Salzburg this week.
100.
So, yeah. Just thought we'd get to that.
100%. So England, number 1 seed. Not convinced on that. If I'm being honest, take on the Philippines, Lithuania, Gibraltar, Austria, USA, Portugal, Hungary, Northern Ireland, Canada, New Zealand versus Denmark, Belgium against Czech Republic, Hong Kong against China. Some chit-chat around whether they can have Singapore on. Yeah, look, we don't know what's going on with travel restrictions, obviously, at the moment, but that's there. Then Wales against Russia, that's a belter. Japan against Scotland, I'm looking forward to that.
That's a belter as well.
This for me, this is tie of the round. Republic of Ireland against Australia.
Disagree.
I am buzzing.
Disagree.
For this game.
Poland. There's one more. There's one more game.
Africa.
This is my tie of the round. This is my tie of the round. Very much looking forward to this.
3 against Brazil. Italy against Spain.
Christoph.
I'm not going to lie, that could be dross. I'm not looking forward to that game at all.
Spain have changed as well. They've dropped Cristo Reyes for Jose Niguera as well, who's in a little bit more form. Yeah. So maybe that should speed it up a little bit.
Against Finland and Sweden against Greece.
John Michael, my hero.
We'll come on to.
Can we just start really quickly, by the way, by saying this? It's such a shame that Dyson Parody is not at the World Cup. We need more Dyson Parody.
Oh, my hero.
The world needs more Dyson Parody or parody in the World Cup.
Fair play to the 2 lads that qualified, by the way, because they're class. They're both JDC lads, very, very capable dart players. Yes. But Jesus, I do like a bit of Dyson.
Right, Kryptonite A1. We'll answer that one when we do the questions at the end. So hang tight on that, but we will. Thought Wright wasn't going to play in the World Cup to travel in the Europe. Look, he said he doesn't want to get on a plane, so he literally drove to Germany. So it was just him, Joe, and his father-in-law in the car. So yeah, look, him and Gary didn't want to play, so they haven't. Thornton Hendo, no party, agreed.
Weekendo, we love it.
Yeah. Right, gentlemen, so the draw is there. Ties of the round, please.
Well, I'll go then. Portland, South Africa to kick it off. I'm really looking forward to this. Ratajski against Dev could be an absolute barnstormer. Obviously, normally, I wish it was a second round game, so we got that, but unfortunately, we're not. Krzysztof Kachuk is a very, very good player. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, being on the Pro Tour, and I'm really interested to see Carl Gabriel as well for South Africa. So I think that could be an absolute belter.
Gob?
I like Belgium, Czech Republic. I think Dimi and Kim's obviously on the way back against Karel Sedlacek and Adam Gorlas. Gorlas will slow that game down massively. He's not the quickest player I've ever seen in my life or played against. I'll be honest. He's no Jeffrey Dyvern on the development tour.
Yeah, but not the victory now anyway. So that could be slow as hell.
Yeah.
Is that game last gone?
I hope not.
No
We're going to be here for years.
No, they're in the afternoon session. I also like the look of the top left. Obviously, Jar's listed quite a few, but I like the top left. England, Philippines. Obviously, I'm English. I always want the England boys to do well. This is the only time you really get to be patriotic in darts because it came from the UK. I know a lot of fans wider support people that come from their own country, but we're more fans of the game than we are fans of English players. Always want them to do well, obviously, but last year we tipped them for a big upset. I think this year they've probably got more of a chance. I'm not sure how much darts they've been playing, and we haven't seen a lot of them basically. But Elagan and Malik Dem are two exceptional dart players that need to make the move over as soon as they can. I think because they definitely both have careers in darts.
Can we just say
that's my issue?
This is a good time to be playing those England boys.
Can I just say Elagan's action, by the way? Elagan's action is possibly the greatest thing ever. Do you remember we were there at the World Championships, Gob, on that afternoon? We actually had Elagan and Malik Dem in the afternoon, and I just loved watching Elagan's action. He's so funny to watch. I love it.
Yeah, look, my issue is I think if it had been a normal year, I agree. But I, like you, Gob, I worry how much darts the Philippine pair have played recently, as in competitive darts, is a concern.
Yeah. But I also think
which is why I think
compared to last year, this is a better time to play England. This time last year, Rob Cross had just picked up the match play, had he not? Against Michael Smith in the final. They're not carrying that form between them, all right? We've seen moments of brilliance between the two, but consistently, in terms of performance level, they're not quite there. Smith likes a quick game. Rob will slow it down. The pairs are there for the taking. If this was two singles, I completely agree. I just think the quality of Smith and Cross, they're number 4 and number 5 in the world, for Christ's sake, that they can turn it on at the flick of a switch. They'd be heavier favourites, but just in a pairs game against two people that are very, very close as well. They are good friends.
All these top players, they just need to get through this so it goes to singles. That's all they're thinking. Just get through.
Which is my one downside of this event.
Yeah, look, I'm with you. I think it should be pairs.
And I'm going to say it now.
No, I don't think there are many dart fans that disagree with you, if I'm being honest. But like I said, I can't wait for the Republic of Ireland against Australia. I think that is an absolute belter because you've got two teams that genuinely get on. David Hester was practicing with Simon Whitlock recently down at his place in the south. So they've been getting some team camaraderie in. Lennon and O'Connor get on really well. We saw that last year. So I'm buzzing for that game. There's a few.
Duff says the Aussies. Duff said that game in particular. Duff says the Aussies walked that. I don't think they do. You know, the Irish don't sleep on the Irish last year. They made the bloody final last year. Don't sleep on the Irish.
Steve Lennon played. I know he lost, but Steve Lennon has played well at the last Euro Tour and at the weekend. Willie O'Connor is in a good run of form. I think the Irish pair are peaking at the right sort of time. Right, gentlemen,
yes.
You know what I'm going to ask here?
Yes.
I would like your semi-finalists from each quarter, please, gentlemen. Same rules as always. I don't make them. I just enforce them. It's what we do for tournaments.
We do. Sheesh. Do you want me to go first, Gob, or do you want to go first? I don't mind.
Yeah, after you, mate.
I thought that might be the case.
You crack on, pal.
John, you've got 30 seconds to... Well, I say, in the YouTube comments, play along at home. I want everyone's semi-finalist and winners in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, please, everyone, get involved. Let's see how close we can all get as a unit. Jar, over to you.
Well, my predictions of the European Championships, don't listen to me. It's the God's honest truth. But let's see what we can do. The broken clock is right. The broken clock is right twice a day. Yes, a broken clock is right twice a day. Look, I think I want to say the Philippines will beat England. I don't think they will. I think it'll be closer than last year, but I don't think they will. I'm going to go with the Austrians to get out of that section of the draw. I think Mansour, regardless of what happened last weekend, is still in a decent run of form. I just have that feeling. And Raul Rodriguez as well can play well on his day. I think they'll beat Lithuania in the quarterfinal. I don't think England make it past the second round. I think Lithuania do them. In a doubles pairs match, I think. So Austria will play. I'm going to go with Belgium. I don't rate Northern Ireland at the moment. Daryl Gurney is in no form whatsoever, and Brennan Dolan. We don't know what Brennan Dolan can come up. So I'm going to go with Austria against Belgium as that semi-final. Dimmy's in a decent run of form. Kim looks like he's getting back to some form, somewhere near his best, and playing with Dimmy will always help him. I'm going to go bottom right. Normally I would go top right, but I'm going to go bottom right because that top up right-hand corner of the draw is an absolute mess, and I'm going to say the Netherlands comfortably get through this. Michael Van Gerwen and Danny Noppert. I'm looking forward to seeing Noppy play for the first time, obviously Van Gerwen in the World Cup, but Netherlands easily come through that. This top right corner of the draw is an absolute mess. Oh, dearie me. Right. I mean, Wales come through against Russia, Japan, or Scotland. I think it'll be Wales against Scotland, and I think Wales come through that quite comfortably. I think the Republic of Ireland come through against Australia. Poland come through against South Africa and I'm going to say Wales and the Republic of Ireland come through that quarter-final. Sod it. I'm going to say the Republic of Ireland beat them. I'm going to say the Republic of Ireland beat them in the quarter-final. So just power of my convictions. Why not? Ireland have got to win something at some stage. Obviously, after the Six Nations loss. So I'm going to go with my final four PB. Austria will be playing Belgium, and the Republic of Ireland will be playing the Netherlands.
Gob, over to you.
Interesting. I like the Austria pick. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure about Roby John. I think that's the issue we've got there. Is he strong enough as a number two? But I'm going to go with you. I'm going to go Austria as well to get out of that quarter. Go on, you will say something.
Yeah, I was going to say if they don't play England, which I don't think they will, then I think Raul Rodriguez will easily be a good number two for the Philippines, Lithuania, or Gibraltar. But if you do play England, then it's another issue. Yeah. Then I agree with you. It's a different story entirely. But then I still think if England get going, then
they're a massive threat. But I just think that the form the two are carrying, despite their quality, despite their world ranking, there's a chance for an upset. And I'm going to stick my neck out and say that's what happened.
You think the Philippines will beat them?
I don't think this. No, not necessarily. But I just think there's more of a chance for that. So therefore, there's more of a chance that Austria come through that quarter than there is England. Playing the percentages.
No, agreed. Just really quickly before we go further, here's a question for you: if England do win this World Cup, will Michael Smith count that as a TV title?
Someone else does.
Hey, Barney lived off for 5 years, so why not?
I would mention him. I think he's like Voldemort. He was struck me down. He's been mentioned on the show. I love it.
I was in someone else does. I was like, I'm not gonna drag him into this because every bloody week someone in the comments makes me go on a rant.
I should stress this, by the way. Obviously, I was out in London over the week was out at Harry Potter, and this has been purchased. Obviously, I don't know if everybody could see it, but a sorting hat has been purchased. So this could be used very much for another bit of stuff that we are going to be doing some other bits and bobs with.
I'll see your sorter's hat and I'll raise you the Marauders map.
Well, actually, funny you should say that, because guess what's also been purchased as well?
Love
there you
that.
go.
Love
the Marauders map is going to get framed too.
As everyone can
I'll
see,
both of your items,
Harry Potter fans as well.
Yeah. And I will see both your items and raise them with me because I'm bloody magic. Now, can we get on with some darts?
Anyway, back to the Quidditch World Cup. Gob, who are you going for?
Yes.
Do you know what? Until a couple of weeks ago, I really fancied Northern Ireland. I fancied them to go all the way. I thought they were going to be contenders in this World Cup, but Gurney's dropped significantly. Dolan's steady, and the more and more I look at it, the more and more that I just think New Zealand will have a chance, and therefore so will Belgium. And because of the quality of Dimitri and the experience of Kim and the way that those two get on, they've been in the same stable for so long. I think Kim took it pretty well when Dimmy took over as captain, as you like, as the highest ranked player. Obviously, he's used to having that role with Ronnie. They seem to carry on, and they're always threats for this event. So I'm going to follow Jara again. It's Belgium for me. Although I do think if you're going to get at them, it'll be early. It'll be early, and it'll be the Czech Republic that knock them out.
How are we agreeing on stuff?
I don't know. Good. It's weird. Especially after your poor form picking the European Championship semi-finalist. I'm suddenly 0 from 2.
Yes, correct.
Top right, I'm not going to avoid it. I'm just going to go straight in there. Wales look heavy favourites, and it's hard to back against them, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to pick the Australians.
Of player that plays for them.
Nope, I just think that the pedigree in this event lies with the Aussies, despite the fact that Damon's a newbie to it. Simon's reacted well to playing with Paul. He's reacted well to playing with Carl, and he's reacted well to playing with Damon. All right, they probably haven't got the results they deserve over the last couple of years, but we saw it at the Grand Prix as well. When Simon Whitlock wants to turn it on, he does. And I know from having conversations in the past with Carl, the minute you put on this shirt for your country, despite the fact it may not seem a lot to the fans, it means an awful lot to these players. This is the only real chance that PDC players nowadays get to represent their country. And it means a lot to these boys from Australia. So Simon takes that on his shoulders, will lead well. Like you said, he's been practicing well with Damon. They'll get used to it. I think they've got the chance here. Damon will be the surprise package. And then the final quarter, it's heart versus head. Head says Netherlands all day, because Danny Noppert is number 2. If that had maybe been JDZ at the minute, then possibly switching away from that, because I think Germany have got one hell of a chance.
I massively disagree.
Max Hopp is playing fantastic darts at the minute. He's chucking in some great performances. We've seen that this weekend and last weekend. Okay, when he's losing, it's not fantastic. But the winning performances he's putting in and his scoring power has been superb. Gabriel is Gabriel. He's going to go up. He's going to be steady. And if he's got Max to feed off him, and unfortunately no crowd, but they would have been behind the Germans as they are, they'd be even heavier favourites. So no crowd gives the Dutch the edge. But if there was a crowd, I'd be back in Germany.
Right. Mine. I am going from the top left. I'm going England purely on the basis that they beat the Philippines, and then I don't think Rowby is good enough to get Mensah through against Smith and Cross. So I'm going England to come out of the top quarter. It's worrying that we all agree about bottom left. So
they're going out first round then, are they?
Yeah, I think Belgium come through.
Simple as.
For me, that's the weakest quarter of the group, and I see Belgium coming through that.
That bottom right isn't great.
It's better than bottom left. Anyway, top. We all know where I'm going. Top right. It's not even an issue. Wales. Bottom right. I kind of agree with Gob here that there's something about this German pair that sticks out, but I think no crowd plays into Danny Noppett's hands massively, and I think the Netherlands just get the better of Germany. So I'm going England versus Belgium, Wales versus the Netherlands in my semi-final lineup. Before we come to a winner, let's go through the YouTube comments. Let's see how we're getting on. Austria, Belgium, Australia, Netherlands. Belgium to win. Interesting. Austria v Belgium, Wales v Holland. A lot of love for Belgium going on. Belgium, Netherlands final.
They've got such a pedigree at this event.
Yeah, the Belgians love this event. I don't disagree there.
Even when it was Ronnie, like they're just class.
Yeah, Austria.
You
Belgium,
just love that.
Wales,
You love that
Netherlands.
Belgium. You love that Belgium Australia game, don't you? From a few years back.
I adore that match, especially. Yeah,
I don't. Some great. To be fair, most people are agreeing with us. Right, gentlemen,
so much.
From your semi-final lineup, I want a winner of the Bet Victor World Cup of Darts from you, please.
Okay, right. I'll go first then, as I pick first. So my semi-final lineup is obviously Austria against Belgium. I think the Belgians come through that. They will play the winner of the Republic of Ireland against the Netherlands, and I'm going to say it's going to be the Netherlands who come through. So it'll be a Belgium-Netherlands final, and there's going to be a new country on the Bet Victor World Cup of Darts, and the Belgians win the Bet Victor World Cup of Darts in the final against the Netherlands. I'm going to go with it. Why not?
Interesting.
2020 is a mad year, boys.
It is. So I actually come to a similar conclusion for the final lineup. I think the Belgians beat the Austrians, and I think that the Dutch beat the Australians. But I think the Dutch win the final. I think Danny Noppert is a superb number 2 to be having at this level. He's arguably playing better than Barney when MVG's carried Barney to this title before. And the field, if I'm being completely honest, is a little bit weaker. The absence of the Scots, the English boys don't have Phill Taylor, Adrian Lewis. I just think if Michael switches on and Danny plays his steady 95 average, there aren't many teams in that lineup that can beat him. If it's a Wales-Netherlands semi-final, all right, I know I've already boo-booed to that if they're going to go out early and back the Aussies, but if it's a Wales-Netherlands final, that's the only way I see the Dutch losing. I just think, aside from that, they're just going to be too good and too consistent for the rest of the field.
Right, from mine, I have England beating Belgium in the semi-final. Going England.
Well, aren't you the little patriot?
You are.
Well, if I'm being honest, don't hate me for this, but I don't rate Kim Hybrox anymore.
Ooh.
And I don't think Dimitri can carry him. So that's why I think England win.
Dimitri doesn't have to carry him. Dimitri's playing on stage, has to go and win his games. And when it gets to the pairs, the Belgians are one of the best pairs teams I've ever seen. No matter who they put in that line, whether it was Kim and Ronnie or Kim and Dimmy, they're one of the best out-and-out pairs player teams I've ever seen. And if this was straight pairs, I'd have them as favourites like that.
I'm going England
I agree with you, Gob.
to beat Belgium. On the other side of the draw, Wales beat the Netherlands. We have an all-British final, Wales against England, and we all know where I'm going with this one. Wales will be the new Bet Victor World Cup of Darts champions. The Iceman and the Ferret lift the trophy for me.
Look, it's hard to back against him, even though Gob and I have done so. I just think that the Irish will just... There'll be something about the Irish pair wanting to repeat what they did last year, which will inspire them in the quarterfinal for me. But Wales is good. It's going to be fun to watch. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Wales is going to be fun to watch, definitely. I'm not normally, by the way, viewers and listeners, I am nowhere near the fan of the World Cup. I think it is a very, very... I don't like the tournament. I don't like it. I know Gob absolutely adores it. but I'm slowly starting to come round to it a bit-ish. It just needs more. If it was pairs all the way through, as we've already talked about, if it was pairs all the way through, I'd be more than happy to watch it. But because it's not, I'm just not. Simple as.
Right, gentlemen, it's nearly 9:30. It's nearly 9:30. The P word is that Premier League. I've said
right,
it.
here we go. Here we go,
right,
lads.
There's been a lot of talk on social media all day about the Premier League, the picks. Right, first of all, I don't think the Premier League happens in the dates it's scheduled. I think the Premier League will get moved. I think the Premier League will get moved, but it will happen. All these people saying it won't happen. I disagree. It will happen, but I think it will start end of summer-ish, and it will run. They'll fix the calendar so it will run through those dates.
I think if it's a choice between the PDC next year, if they have to cut events, and it's a choice between the Premier League and the World Series, they take the Premier League all day, every day.
The Premier League's their flagship.
They had a couple of options for the World Series and pushed it back, but the marketing, the exposure, the travelling circus, the top players in the world playing week in, week out, it's 16 weeks of darts on the TV as opposed to 4 weekend events. They're taking the Premier League. Also, they're taking a chance to show off these top players against each other.
Also, depending on who you listen to, and I don't agree with this, the Premier League is part of the hashtag Triple Crown. Now, obviously, I don't agree with that because it's not a ranked event. However, you are taking the biggest unranked tournament of the lot out the calendar. You ain't doing that. You just ain't doing that. I think what will happen is, if you want me to be honest, they will move the World Series to February, March time probably, and April. Pack as many Pro Tours as they possibly can between April and July. Get to the match play, and then just do the Premier League from July through till September, October. Then we go back into the World Grand Prix, and we go back into the ranked events. Do it. That's what we need to do.
Right. We've already seen it that the rest of the world seems to relax COVID restrictions quicker than the UK. So if I can get my World Series done while everyone else is opening up, and the UK is slightly behind it for the Premier League, it would work in sync perfectly.
Agreed.
Right. Gentlemen, are we agreeing that it's going to be 10 players for 2021?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. No doubt.
Contenders was brilliant. Contenders was brilliant concept until coronavirus meant that the last 3-4 appearances were completely damp. Luke Humphreys and the rest of the contenders from the start of the year set it up really, really nicely. But the minute that they got to the point where they didn't have a lot to play for and it was no crowd, no nothing, it sapped the life out of it. And I think it's just going to fizzle out. And next year, because of the players that have won televised ranking events so far, because of the players in that top 10, and because of the people that are good at players that have been in that Premier League historically, that are on the edge to be left out, they won't have a choice but to extend it to 10 players.
So, these 10 players, who do we think the 10 chosen warriors potentially will be? Obviously, we've still got major tournaments between now and the Premier League. So this could obviously change. The unwritten rule that if you win a televised title, you're in the Premier League. Well, to a degree,
shall we go?
I'm sure those rules.
Yeah, no, those rules will change if it has to. If it has to, they'll change. Do we all agree then? And this is again for our viewers and listeners as well. By the way, shout out to the guy from Slovenia. By the way, thanks very much for watching us over in Slovenia. A lot of love for that. A lot of love for Slovenia. Great country, by the way.
I didn't insult them tonight.
Beautiful country. Yeah. Right. So here we go. Can we all agree then on these eight players as it stands at this moment in time? Michael van Gerwen, Gerwin Price.
Yes.
Peter Wright.
Yes.
Gary Anderson.
Yes.
Michael Smith.
No.
Okay. Nathan Aspinall. Glenn Durrant. Dimmy Vandenberg.
Dozer, yes. Dimmy, yes. Right now,
Dimmy's
I think
I've got 7
got to be in there as
Ass
has got to be in there because he's the Premier League finalist. There's no way they're not putting him back in. No way.
Right, I'm playing the devil's advocate here. what happens if we get some ridiculous winners between now and the Worlds?
If players from outside the top 16 win the Slam, the Players' Championship, and one of the top 3 win the World Championship, yeah.
Then that's why I say I don't think the Asp is an absolute. I think he will be in, because I'm not saying that someone else goes and wins one of these.
You can't not have the Premier League runner-up from last year not in it. What do you want about, man? Come on now.
If someone else goes and wins these TV titles, how do you get him in?
Yeah.
Is the issue.
If one of the players we haven't mentioned doesn't slip into the top 4 as well, because at the minute, post-World Championship, Rob Cross is number 4, right? He's not in my list.
Definitely, yeah.
Because I think he falls.
No, he's not.
No, I think he falls. Because I think other players will overtake him. So he's not in my 7. But if he stays there, there's then only 3 spots left for arguably the Players' Championships winner, the Grand Slam winner, and the World Champion. And if they're not in that 7 already, Nathan Aspinall's in trouble.
Yeah.
Or Golden Boy Gary Anderson's in trouble.
They will never, ever.
Well, there we go, boys. So, Jar, you've just answered your own question. That's how they can leave Nathan Aspinall out, because they picked the major winners, the top 4, and Gary Anderson.
Right, Jar. If Rob Cross is in the top 4,
he'd be incredibly unlucky. He'd be incredibly unlucky for it to happen. But at the moment, unless he wins something or pushes himself into that top 4, there is a chance that Nathan Aspinall will be left out of this World Premier League. World Premier League.
Right, Jar, I'm playing devil's advocate here. Rob Cross finishes in the top 4, so he goes 7.
Yeah.
Devon Peterson wins the Grand Slam. He goes 8.
Yeah. Yeah.
Players' Championship is won by Joe Cullen. He goes 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then all of a sudden, we've got 1 space left, and if someone random wins the Worlds,
and Krzysztof Ratajski wins the World Championship,
or right, flip the coin. Ratajski wins the Players' Championship, and Devon wins the world title. How do you get Nathan Aspinall into that 10?
You have to get rid of somebody. And in my opinion, you'd have to go Cross.
Who?
Cross.
Yeah, but he's in the top 4.
I appreciate the top 4.
Top 4. That is the only thing that is written into Premier League. That is the only guarantee.
The top 4 are instant picks. So you can't get rid of Cross for that reason.
That is the only guarantee. They have to literally rewrite the rules of the tournament.
You probably wouldn't have Ratajski. If Ratajski wins the Players, look, I like the Players' Championship. We all know this. I love Minehead, but I don't think that the Players' Championship is the equivalent to winning, literally being the runner-up of the Premier League. Like, he's the runner-up of a Triple Crown event. Like it or loathe it, that is literally how it works. I've seen comments as well saying that Cross and Gurney could be gone. I think Gurney is dead in the water. I don't unless he wins something, he ain't in the Premier League next year, in my opinion. I think we can all agree on that. But this is where I come to my point that I was arguing with people. Well, discussing with people today, not arguing on socials. My biggest thing with this is that Devon Peterson and players as well. People are talking about Devon Peterson, Joe Cullen. I saw Jose, Luke Humphries was a shout. I saw as well on socials. All good players, but you have to win and get to that next level. You have to win TV titles, otherwise you're not going to get in. James Wade's won a European final, made a European final. Now, do I think that Matt and Barry will pick him for the Premier League? Not a chance. Will they pick him if they can help it? But I think that he has to be picked at the moment because he's world number 7. Same with Michael Smith. Michael Smith would have to be picked if he's world number 5 at this moment in time. But again, it's if Smith jumps back into the top 4 again after the World Championships, he's guaranteed to be there. It's simple as plain as that. Yeah, actually, Jacob's just come up with a really good comment on socials and saying that surely, though, with that theory that if Devon won the Worlds, then he'd be in the top 4 more than likely, so Cross would be out. There you go. Bang. Absolutely. Because remember, for £500,000 for the Worlds, that will put you straight away pretty much into the conversation with the top 4.
Rob Cross is on 505, so it'd have to be a complete unranked player.
Yes, so that's the point. Devon at the moment is on 151, so he would jump straight up to 651 if he win the Worlds. Job done. Cross is out.
However, what happens if it's a Rob Cross, Devon Peterson final? Am I thinking about this too much?
Yes, you are.
I mean, we're not dropping a lot of scenarios.
Definitely.
Look, this is what we do.
Let's forget rankings. Let's forget order of merit as it stands at the back end of next year. Pick your 10 that you'd personally have in the Premier League next year. Forget who's won what. Forget any stipulations. If you could pick any 10 players to be in the Premier League next year, who would they be?
Okay. All right. Does anyone want to go first? Because I haven't got my 10 yet.
Wait a minute.
By the way, by the way, viewers, if you're watching this live, get your comments in right now and tell us who you would have in the Premier League right now.
Yeah, gloves are off. Anyone watching on YouTube, your 10 players that you'd have in the Premier League with no restrictions. Pick whoever you'd like to see week in, week out. This is going to get interesting.
There's going to be some wild cards in here, isn't there?
There's going to be some absolute seeds in here. I love this. By the way, can I just say this now? Gary Anderson, at this moment in time, post-World Championships, he's obviously got to defend a Slam final, a Players' Championship Finals semi-final, and a World semi-final. He's jumping to number 17 in the world at the moment. But he'll still get in.
You forget, they gave him a wild card when he was 24, so...
I agree. I don't disagree with
Because of his injury. Because of his injury, would they give him the same free pass this year?
Yes. Gary does numbers. We know
Sky would pick him as a wild card 100%. Absolutely, 100%.
Not even a debate. Okay, I got my 10, I think.
I'm one away, and I've just seen the name, and I can't remember who it was. Oh, it's him.
Are we basing this as well on players playing well as well?
Yes.
Not on current...
I've done a little bit of form, a little bit of players that I idolise, and a little bit of players that just make it interesting. I've missed out one of the big three, I'll be completely honest.
That's a surprise. Gavin Price not in the not in your lineup, is it?
It just doesn't fit the atmosphere that I'm going for.
Really? That's do you know what? That is the biggest shock on this show ever. Someone's putting Barney in the league. Yes, please.
Piss off.
Just for pure. Please, can we get Barney in there? I love it.
Sorry.
Listeners, you are genuinely the best. I love
the Premier League.
Absolutely love that.
Premier League is the best. The Premier League is this.
Right.
Oh, right. So we want to go. I'll go if you want. I don't mind. Here we go. Okay, so top three are in. Michael Van Gerwen, Peter Wright, Gerwin Price. Sorry, Gob. He does numbers and people will want to see him play darts. Just to boo him anyway if it needs to be. Right. Gary Anderson is in. Nathan Aspinall is in. Glenn Durrant is in. Dimi van den Berg is in, as is Michael Smith. Now, my next two are picks of players that deserve it from the year they've had so far and would sell numbers. No matter what I've said on Twitter, I'd love to see him in there. The African Warrior deserves to be in the Premier League this year. He deserves to be in there for the way he's performed, and he will do numbers. Can you not imagine 9 weeks of, minimum 9 weeks, potentially 16 weeks of him dancing on the stage? Definitely. My final pick is a man who I idolise. And a man who I just want to see the chainsaw be performed for the entire 16 weeks. Get the chainsaw out. Dirk van Dijvenbode deserves to be in the Premier League because of the year he's had. Get him in the bloody Premier League now. Get the aubergines out. I want to see Rotterdam in purple holding up aubergine cards right now. There you go. There's my 10.
I was convinced that was Jose, so I've put a little tick next to him, thinking it is, and I'm about to cross it out.
Oh, you got for Jose in the league, have you?
Maybe.
Right. Do you want me to do mine?
Go for it. Why not, Mr. Bowers?
You do the sensible one, and then I'll come in and blow out of the water with this nonsense.
MVG, Price, Wright, top 3, agreed. Durrant, Anderson, I agree with you. Devon, I agree with you because he's something different in his box office. I picked Smith. That was the question I asked. Are we assuming they're in form and playing well? Because free-flowing Michael Smith is an absolute joy to watch. Here's where it all goes absolutely left field. I'm leaving out Dimitri van den Berg. Because I just don't get me wrong, Demi, he's a great player, but he's not easy on the eye. And the Premier League is about entertainment.
Yes.
Does a nice little dance.
And so I'm leaving Dimitri van den Berg out of my 10. In comes Joe Cullen, the rock star.
Ooh.
Because I just
think
he's Premier League material. He ticks the Premier League boxes. Ticks the Premier League boxes for me. This is one that I just think this boy is going to be mint. He's shown it, and I think this is giving the platform. I'm going Dobes.
He needs to win a tournament first, Phil.
Right, my last one. I've got 2 names written down here. One is very left field, but ticks Premier League boxes. And the other one is such a sensible pick.
Here she comes.
Yeah. We know who's
Fallon Sherrock.
Mm.
But I've also got stroke Nathan Aspinall. Look, Aspinall's a sensible pick, but you said the rules are off. I would much rather see Fallon Sherrock play for 16 weeks on a big stage in the Premier League with the atmosphere and everything that goes with it. We talk about the Premier League being the exhibition, the showcase. That's why I've put Fallon's name in the mix.
She would tick the Premier League boxes, I'll give you that, no doubt. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have 4 players the same as both of you.
Get with prices in it, we know this.
They are Michael Van Gerwen, Peter Wright, Devon Peterson, and Gary Anderson. They're the 4. And then you said I could pick whoever I wanted. So I picked whoever I wanted.
Are we just about to get shut down as a company?
Yes.
I
love it.
Put it this way, if I wake up tomorrow and these guys are in the Premier League, I've died and gone to heaven.
Okay.
So Steve Peter's in there.
Wadey's in there.
No, he's not.
No doubt about that.
James Wade is in there.
Is he not?
The man's
Yeah,
Wade is. Wade is number 5.
Right, okay.
I'll give you Jose because I've already told you.
Yeah.
Jose's there. The miscounts, the entertainment, he'd be exceptional. Next to Jose is Christopher Tyski.
I'd say who doesn't want to hear 2?
It's a bit of a nightmare for interviews, by the way. Absolute nightmare for interviews because the next 2 people you can't understand a word they say. So one of them is Christopher Tyski, and the other one is John Henderson. Big Hendo weekender.
We love it. Yes.
Big Hendo weekender.
We have gone definitely. We have gone left field with these.
Yep.
Seeds of Hendo's rocking all over Europe in the Prem.
2 more to go. Just because Michael Van Gerwen is in there and I like a bit of needle, I'm sending into bat Mervyn King.
Oh, I thought you were going somewhere else then for a minute.
I thought you were going yellow.
I did as well.
No. I want needle, not boxing matches, for Christ's sake. And the final pick, because this is all about what I want to watch, and despite the fact it breaks down more often than an Alfa Romeo, Adrian Lewis still has the most beautiful throw on the planet, and I want to see that. And if anybody's going to hit a Premier League 9 data, it's jackpot.
However, if you're putting him in for 16 weeks, have the RAC on standby because they're going to be called. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Green flag are more reliable these days. We'll go with them.
Well, that was a bit of fun. We've got people playing along. Quick one, Billy. No, it's not confirmed as 10 for next season. We're just assuming it's going to be 10. Right, let's see where the listeners have gone with us. Right, if it's right, I'm only going to read out if there's some random names in there, guys, because most of you are kind of agreeing with us. Oh, I tell you what, Patrick's got one here. 16 weeks of Vincent van der Voort interviews. Yes, please. We'd have half.
Please.
We'd have half of Europe demolished by the end of the Premier League. Love that shout.
Every single arena we're getting bulldozed. I love it.
Yes. I love that.
He would not take kindly to the West Point.
Oh my God, can you imagine Van der Voort seeing the sheep shearing sign outside the West Point?
There's a few.
He's also gone for Whitlock still. Well, please.
Beaten, Whitlock being talked about. I'll tell you what, there's a couple of people that agree with my Cullen shout as well. I think he's made for the Premier League. I've seen
one in there, Damon Heta as well. I've just seen it in the comments as well. Damon Heta getting a bit of love as well. Fair play for the Heat.
Yeah, like that. Kieran, I think no. He's in danger of losing his tour card, let alone getting a Premier League place.
But Dartwall coming out with a Matt Edgar, I love it.
Good shout, but not for me. He's gone Van Dyvern as well as the Wolf.
Yes, definitely.
I mean, they're all good, but they're nowhere near mine, are they? So that was fun.
A couple of people are shouting Barney. Yeah, I'd have him in there. God, wouldn't you?
A couple of people can shout all they bloody want. I ran my foot up their ass.
Right, ladies and gents.
I still love it every week.
We've covered the Premier League. Right, it's that time. It's question time. We've got some time at the end of the show to answer your questions, as always. So get them in the comments below. I'm just going to go back and find one from Kryptonite A1 because I said we'd answer it, and it's a good question as well.
Just a quick reminder while doing that, actually. Yeah, Phil's doing that. Just a reminder, obviously, everybody, I know we're all at home, certainly in the UK. Just a quick question, just a quick thought for you. If you can't watch the World Cup of Darts, you can on onlinedarts.com. There is going to be a way we'll be able to broadcast on the World Cup of Darts for you. And don't forget as well, live blogs throughout the day, Friday, Saturday and Sunday throughout the weekend. 12 o'clock, we'll be on air on Friday with a live blog. Make sure you join us for all the action from day one of the bet of, as everyone's calling it on Twitter, the Bet Victor.
Right, Kryptonite's question. Based on where Peter Wright is now in his career and what he's done, would you now have him above Adrian Lewis in an all-time top list? Good question. That's why I remembered it, because we were going to answer it.
Yeesh.
No, not yet.
Yeesh. No. I'm with Gob.
Jackpot's got
if he goes
20
back
years.
to back, then...
Jackpot's got 20 years.
And also as well, if he goes back to back, then I may have a discussion point, but I don't know.
No, but double-edged sword, because I also think Adrian Lewis is one of the biggest underachievers in PDC history.
100%.
For his ability
about to say that
he's got. So it's a double-edged sword. Like, I love Aids to bits, but for the talent he's got, he hasn't won enough, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Great.
But in his defence, he was quite young when he picked up, and he ran into Phill Taylor an awful lot. Right, that's different. I know Peter Wright's got MVG to contend with. He's come to the game and got to this level quite late, and he is making the most of his ability. And despite the fact Jackpot underachieved, I just think to do what he did at that age, superb.
Yep. So, Daz, who are going to be the World Cup callers? I don't know is the honest answer. I'm guessing Russ will always be in Germany. George, maybe, depending how he is.
Have I spoken to King Noble?
Yeah, no, he's not been feeling great the last few days. Don't worry, everyone, it's not COVID. It's not felt great, so he might not travel for that reason. He's down to go. He's going to see how he feels.
They'll probably just send Kirk and Paulie Hinks over. By the way, can I just say how amazing it was to have Paulie Hinks calling games back on darts over the weekend. Great to see him back. And also, I think they'll just send them back over, to be honest, because they're obviously in Germany, so get them over to Austria that way.
Yeah. Wayne, any news on players moving different companies? Not that I know of. Obviously, no. I knew what was going on with Joe. hence the interview was already teed up and lined up. But just Google search when players' contracts are, when they've signed new ones, and you can work out roughly who's going to have new deals in the offing and who hasn't type thing. So you can kind of work out what players are due for renewals or potentially moving for that reason. But at the moment, I think most are quite settled now. But, well, obviously for the rest of this year, next year, there'll probably be some players moving, but don't know as we speak, mate. Charlie, we'll go in price, have some roars with no crowd. Absolutely. We heard him in the Premier League, and a couple of times you could have heard him in Coventry. It was that loud. The Iceman will give it some. Oh, who's your pick for the Grand Slam?
Let's wait on that one. Let's wait until after the Grand Slam qualifier.
Charlie, good question, but with so many gaps in the qualifying at the moment, we don't know who's going to be there.
Don't think it makes a difference.
Where's
The group draw could bugger it up, but if they haven't qualified yet, chances are they're not that big a threat. They would have won something already or done bits. There's a couple of players on the cusp, but are they major winning caliber yet? Possibly. Will it take an upset to do so? Yes. I think the man that we saw won yesterday is favourite, and that's where I'm going for the Grand Slam.
Only one person wins the Grand Slam. We all know this.
Let's get him in price.
He's
the only person
who's head in the water.
Yeah, he's the only person to ever lift the Bristow Trophy. That's just how it works.
Jacob, who do you think could be the next late bloomer in the future, like Wright has been over the last 8 years? Oh, good question. I like that. Late bloomer.
Rain van Barneveld.
I'm going to go out on a limb, Jacob. I don't think there's going to be many more late bloomers because of the way the system is now with the JDC and the development tour.
Yeah.
I think we'll see less and less of the Peter Wright, Glenn Durrant stories for that reason.
I'm about to say, Duzz's not done too badly for his first couple of years of the PDC, going to be potentially world number 8. In 2 years of the PDC, he's not done too badly.
That's my reason.
I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Right. Any updates on
anyone that really fits the age range, maybe? But does he have the dedication to go permanently full time and be a top 16? Who knows?
That's a good shout.
Mate is just about the one there.
I forgot he's like 46. Yeah, that's a great shout. To be fair, I'd completely forgotten about the Salza. That's why Mace is on the TV and we're not.
Correct.
Good shout. Any
because he's got a better dress sense.
He does have a better dress sense. I've tried to channel him my inner Mace tonight, but I don't think rather than going with the Mace, I've gone with the Weatherspoons look tonight with the Weatherspoons plate.
More Wazza than Mace.
To beat Mace, you're going to have to go some to beat that Sugar Skull shirt from the other day. That's up there.
Oh, 100%. That's brilliant.
Lewis and Bunting, both completely recovered from COVID, played in the last Euro Tour. They could be back for the Grand Slam, but will have to qualify, mate. But they're all back and playing. All three of you are awesome people. I'm so glad you said Devon. Cheers, Daniel. Not a problem. That's a belter. Yes, mate, it is. Who's the best treble 19 hitter?
Dirk van Dijvenbode. On current form, Dirk van Dijvenbode.
Current form, Van Dijvenbode's right up
there. Michael Smith.
It's not James Wade and it's not Max Hart because they both avoid it like the plague.
Because they don't switch.
No, I think Michael Smith's not too bad. To be fair, I also think Getty isn't too bad at going downstairs as well. To be fair,
Prime MVG didn't miss treble 19.
Yeah, I agreed. 100%. I don't disagree there as well. MVG's not a bad.
What is the nature of?
Fair. To be fair, I'll say this though about this really quickly. MVG can hit anything on the As you can hear anything on his prime.
What is the nature of players' stables contracts, and are they important? No, not really. It's just individual. Most are just they're managed by the same manager and they're under the same banner like that, but it's an individual sport. So no, for me, not important at all. Hendo's games were cancelled today because he had to go and get a COVID test for the World Cup, mate. Nothing wrong with him. He just needed, today was the only day he could get the COVID test, which is why Richard North came in. Right, you're Steve West.
Yeah, on Twitter this morning.
Yeah. Mason, it's about Rach, in your opinion, who is the funniest on tour and also the moodiest?
Well, the moodiest is Wadey. There's no doubt about that. Let's just leave it out there, throw it out there now. Or Vincent, to be fair. Vincent will happily demolish any. Yeah, Vincent will just demolish anything. The funniest, though, that's a really good question. When he's in the right mood,
I think Richard North is funny, but he doesn't know it.
When he's in the right mood, when you're on his level, I think MBG is a very, very, very funny guy. When he's in the right mood, when he's come through a good performance, and he wants to have Josh with the media. He's a very, very, very funny bloke. I've got a lot of time for Michael Van Gerwen.
Yeah, Jack Pot and Joe Cullen are also very funny people.
Cullen's amazing, by the way.
Cullen's hilarious.
Yes, he is. Kyle Anderson's very funny.
Yeah. Kyle Anderson's centre
I'll stop you there. It says on tour, you need to get Kyle to throw a dart first before we can put him in that bracket.
I'll give him a ring.
Wow. To be fair as well. To be fair, the Glenn does as well. Does is very, very funny as well. Got a lot of time for Glenn. There's a lot of funny players on the tour. Yeah.
Yeah, no, completely agree. Do I think Johnny Clanton will win the Premier League? Not unless he wins something. He has to win a TV title to go into that bracket. If he does, so there. Who's the best top tier?
James Wade.
Price. No, Wadey on 10s, Price on top.
Prime, Robert Thornton.
Thornton on tops is lethal.
Obviously not now.
Won him a UK Open and went deep in a Grand Prix.
Won the Grand Prix, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. UK Open and the Grand Prix because he's the best top hitter.
Prime Thornton right up there. Mace agreed. MVG better. Thomas, is MVG past his best? No, just a blip.
No.
He will be back. Don't worry about that. Kryptonite. Cheers, guys. Not a problem.
To be fair, hang on. Actually, I appreciate. Just really quickly. I know we've got to go because you've been here for 2 hours tonight. By the way, thanks very much for listening and watching, everybody. If you're still here, thank you. Quick question around MVG's past his best. Well, in a way, yes, because we will. I doubt we will ever. In a way, I doubt we'll ever see 2016 ever happen again, where he just won everything. I don't think we'll ever see that in darts ever again. So that is his prime, then yes. But he could still, I don't know. He do you know what I mean? He's not past his best. I still think he is on his A game. I agree with you, Phill, that he is still by far and away the best. But we will never see the like of 2016 ever again. That's my only concern.
Nice.
I don't think we've ever seen a player recover once they've gone over that dip. Phil Taylor had it, admittedly, when he changed manufacturer and did recover a little bit. Adrian Lewis has never been the same player. Gary Anderson doesn't quite look the same player. Raymond van Barneveld doesn't look the same player. They've all had upturns in form, but they've never quite reached that height that they ever got to. Stop laughing at the B word.
Mate, everyone's looking forward to seeing Barney in this year's Premier League. Oh,
can't wait.
If Barney qualified,
can't wait.
But before we start wrapping the show up, is this your worst case scenario, Gob? Somehow, Barney comes through that Dutch qualifier, gets a spot in the Worlds, and could you imagine the scenes?
If he won the world title.
Can
you imagine?
2020, it's a funny year. That's all I'm saying, guys. That's all I'm saying. Anything goes in 2020.
I would absolutely love it. I'd love it if Barney with the title just to annoy God.
I'll say this now, Des.
Scottish
the
lad.
second word is
Scottish
off.
lad.
Fill in the blank yourself.
It's fine. We're past the watershed. Scottish lad.
Yeah.
Can you give my darts review channel a shout out? Yes, I've watched it. Scottish lad does darts reviews. Really good YouTube channel, guys. Go and watch it. If you get shout, does it in an alternative way to other people. Kieran, great show tonight. Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Kieran.
Is the World Cup ranked? No, it's not. Is Thornton amongst the great? Is he almost guaranteed to lose his tour card? Last one ranked because it's you. Unless he gets to the Worlds, I think it's almost nailed on. However, he still has time.
Shame.
He's got a Grand Slam qualifier, the Winter Series to qualify for the Players, and that would get him in the Worlds. So hope is not lost for Robert Thornton.
Just a quick one before we go, PB. Thornton's only $1,500 off qualifying for the Players' Championships. If he gets there, he's got half a chance. Definitely.
That's what I mean. Look, guys, we have waffled for 2 hours of your night. It's been an absolute bumper show this evening. I just want to thank. I'm just looking at the numbers, obviously, because I can see it as I'm monitoring the stream. Absolutely amazing, amazing numbers tonight, guys. Just want to thank you all so much from all three of us for sticking with us. It's been amazing. The channel is growing and growing and going strength to strength. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. You're watching us there now, so hit that subscribe button.
Yeah, just want to say very, very quickly, I know a lot of our viewers as well and listeners are from the UK. Look, we appreciate what's going to happen on Thursday. We all know it's lockdown 2, Electric Boogaloo. But over the next week, over the next month or so, we've got so much darts to look forward to. And if we can at least give you a little bit of respite from the absolute crap that's going on outside, and to be fair as well to the rest of the world as well that are watching us as well, if we can give you some sort of respite from what's happening around the world, then that makes us very, very happy. And we really do appreciate you coming back to us.
Exactly. That's why we will be here every week, guys. And we've sorted out that if one of us can't be here, we've got Brad. One of our writers is going to fill in for us. So just so one of us aren't here, the show will always
be careful though. Be careful. I don't think you'll be able to understand him because he's that northern.
But just want to thank you all, and like you say, so much darts coming on, and here at Online Darts we have everything covered for you, so you don't need to go anywhere else. I've been Phill Bars, as always, joined by Jarleth and Jack with gentlemen. It's been an absolute pleasure as always, and we will see you all next week for another Online Darts The Live Lounge. Laters.